I am a true blue Gen Xer, born in 1967, and apparently Gen X goes from 1965 till 1980. And I've been having a whole lot of fun diving in and seeing, hey, is this how I really am? I'm not sure I agree with what they say are the characteristics of us Gen Xers. So, what I decided to do is I'm going to pull together a summary of what they say the top characteristics of Gen Xers are. And if you happen to be Gen X as well, see if you agree with these characteristics. Do these apply to you? Hi, my name is Lisa. I am a proud Canadian, mom, grandma, a retired teacher and counselor. And today we're going to talk about Gen Xers and how they are really kind of like the middle child between the baby boomers, and there was that small little 10-year phase of what's called the Joneses generation, and the millennials, both my sons. But to make this interactive, I'm going to put in a picture that is from our Gen X timeframe. And what I want you to do is identify each of those pictures and put them in the comments. Let's see if you get them all. Characteristic number one is self-reliance. And this makes total sense to me because it says that Gen Xers are very independent. We want to do it ourselves. And where did this come from? They say it's because we were the latchkey kids generation. And so we came home to empty houses. We had to make our own snacks, do our own chores, do our own homework, and basically be self sufficient when our parents weren't there. We didn't have constant supervision. And for me, I agree with this, but I thought it was mostly because of my farm life. Because when we came home from school, we got our own snack, got to watch like one or two shows on our three channels. That was it. And then we had chores to do because there was a farm to run, right? And so I thought that work ethic and, being a self starter was basically because of the farm. So maybe it was a combination, being a farm kid and being a Gen X. And how did this shape us? Well, it seemed to create a generation that we want to do things our own way. It's like, point me in the direction and then get out of my way. We hate being micromanaged, and I can truly attest to that. We just kind of prefer to be given a task and left alone to complete it on our own. Okay, here's item number one. If you recognize what it is, just put it in the comments. Characteristic number two, skepticism of institutions. We are skeptical people, and who could blame us? Because over the time of our formative years, our childhood, our teenage years, and early adulthood, we saw a lot of institutions fail us, whether it was government, Watergate, the Iran Contra scandal, the Cold War scared the crap out of us. I remember having to do drills where we would have to like hide under our desks. We saw corporate America downsize again and again, which impacted like millions of families and their paychecks. That whole promise of work hard, stay loyal, and you'll be taken care of, that promise was broken. We saw the divorce rate skyrocket, so even that family institution was being compromised, and our religious institutions were embroiled in a bunch of scandal. So, how did this shape us? Basically, we developed finely tuned BS detectors. We questioned authority. We became skeptical of marketing claims, political promises, and anyone else telling us, just trust us, trust the system. I think it became a bit of a defense mechanism because we learned not to take things at face value. We kind of look to see if there's a bit of an angle involved here, and we look deep to see if we can catch it. Does that apply to you? Here's picture two. Tell me in the comments if you can recognize what it is. Characteristic number three is pragmatism over idealism. So when you can't trust institutions, promises, or grand visions, you tend to become really practical. And so Gen X, we are less interested in what sounds inspiring and more interested in what actually works. And this shows up everywhere: how we approach problems at work, how we handle our finances, how we make decisions. It's like, okay, let's just get it done. Gen X tends to ask the question of what actually works in the real world. This is interesting because this fits me. I remember working in Dubai, and it was in 2015. Justin Trudeau had just become our new prime minister. And these young women were coming up to me in the hallway going, "Is it true? Is this your new prime minister?" And yes, Justin Trudeau is a good looking dude, but they were saying, "You're so lucky." And I'm going, "Why? Because he has nice hair? Like, what? How does that make me lucky? I want to know, can he do the job? What are his policies? Will he get the job done? That's all I care about." Okay, here's picture number 3. Recognize it? Put it in the comments. Characteristic number 4 is adaptability. My goodness. Generation X basically is the bridge between two different worlds. We started off in that analog world where we were, learning on typewriters. And we had to adapt to this very fast-paced changing world of computers and cell phones and the internet and social media. And just as an aside, you know what? My generation in Canada, we were the bridge between the imperial system and the metric system as well. So we kind of operate in both Fahrenheit and Celsius, miles and kilometers, and all the measuring cups in the kitchen. We can operate in both worlds. There was adaptability in the economic sphere as well, because beyond technology, I mean, Gen X, we had to weather a bunch of economic crises during our prime working years, like the early 90s recession, the dot-com crash, the 2008 financial crisis, COVID-19. Every single time we had to regroup, adapt, change careers, retrain ourselves, look to side hustles, and found ways to survive by being adaptable. Okay, here's picture number 4. If you know what it is, write it in the comments. Characteristic number 5 is work-life balance pioneers. And I can really attest to this one because I remember the dialogue taken off with us. And that was about, okay, I do not want to live to work. I want to work to live. Gen X really started pushing back on this whole concept of being a workaholic. We watched our baby boomer parents like work all the time, missing things out of our childhood. Like my parents never made it to my basketball games ever. And we wanted to make that shift so that our lives would be better and we could make the lives of our children better too by creating personal time, family time, having time for our own hobbies, and lives outside of work. We started that conversation about flexibility and that work-life balance that still continues today. And here is picture number 5. Characteristic number 6 is ironic detachment. When I was reading up on all of this, I said to my kids, "Hey, did you know that my generation is the one that brought sarcasm to the culture?" And they went, "No shit." Maybe sarcasm just runs in our family. I don't know. But maybe it's so embroiled in me that I never even realized that it was our generation that brought sarcasm and irony and a sort of dark sense of humor front and center in our culture, right? So think of the media that we created and consumed a lot of, like The Simpsons, Seinfeld, grunge music with its anti-establishment themes. We're not gonna take it. Remember that? We tended to use humor and music as sort of like a coping mechanism and emotional armor. So we'd fight back with sarcasm. Does this apply to you? And coming at you is picture number 6. Okay, characteristic number 7 is the do-it-yourself ethic. We like to create our own opportunities. We learned we couldn't rely on corporate structures or established systems, so we built our own. And you know what? That do-it-yourself ethic still continues today. Generation X is more likely to have side businesses, freelance work, multiple income streams, and I definitely fit into that category. We do not put all of our eggs in one basket because we learned early that these baskets break. The motto is, if the system won't help us, we'll figure it out ourselves. As a teacher, I tried drilling it into my students. You need more than one stream of income. And if you can, buy stocks. Let them grow for you. Let your money work for you. I wish I had known this in my 20s, but hey, It's never too late. And here's your final picture. Do you recognize it? If so, write it in the comments. The literature says that Generation X is independent, skeptical, and pragmatic, shaped by broken promises, institutional failures, and having to figure things out on our own from an early age. That we're reliant survivors who learned not to trust easy answers. We value authenticity and privacy and practical solutions. We adapt, we create our own opportunities, and we're comfortable with uncertainty because we know we can get through these things. We've been there and done that. We may be the forgotten generation, that middle child generation, but you know what? A lot of us are okay with that. We kind of like being quietly running things in the background. And that's exactly what Generation X is doing these days, is running much of the infrastructure of society. They're the IT directors, the middle managers, the small business owners who just get things done without needing a whole lot of applause. So I want to hear from you. Do you see yourself in these descriptions? And what did I miss? What I do want to say is that just because I was born at a certain time doesn't make it so that I think everyone's going to have those characteristics. I think huge factors that shape the way I think is because I was born in Canada, because I was raised on a farm, and because I'm female. That had an awful lot to do with the way I was molded and the way I interacted with the world. But it is fascinating to see if those characteristics truly do accurately represent the majority of the people who were born between 1965 and 1980. And if you found this interesting, please hit that like and subscribe button because it does help small channels like mine. And if you don't, whatevs. Have a great day.